Hey friends, welcome back to the channel with more My Hero Academia. This is Season 3, Episode 4, and last time we left off with our students, our heroes, under attack by the League of Villains. I don't know what their goal is besides just undermining the society that All Might has built. Hopefully our kids will be alright. Hopefully Koda is alright. Somebody was there at his secret hideout, had found him. I don't know how, but yeah, hopefully it'll all be alright. Let's check it out. If you guys want to watch the full reaction, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Take a moment to leave a like. It really helps out the channel, and let's get started. So YouTube has been blocking my reactions to My Hero Academia, so the rest of this video is just going to be the commentary, but you can still see the reaction in the link in the description below. We're going to do this for the rest of Season 3. I'll tinker around with Season 4 when I get to it to see if I can get around the copyright issue, but not too optimistic about that. But again, you can check it out still, and let's get on to the commentary. Every once in a while, this show just likes to absolutely destroy you, doesn't it? Oh, that battle between Deku and the muscle quirk guy was so intense. We'll get to that though. We'll save that for the end of the commentary. The episode actually started with us rewinding 5 minutes to the moments before the fight breaks out. The kids who failed their final exams are all back at the home base. I don't know what to call it exactly. Monoma is there before the rest of them, laughing at those in 1A who failed their exams despite failing himself. This guy has no self-awareness, no shame. How about feeling bad that he's the only one in his class who failed? It's honestly quite hilarious because he's so over the top, like just obsessed with overcoming 1A. But the fact that nearly all of 1B passed compared to 3/4 of 1A passing is interesting because, yeah, I mean, it could possibly mean that 1B is actually more prepared or more well-rounded, possibly because 1B has had less disruptions and they've had more time to learn actual curriculum. And it also makes me wonder about Monoma's quirk. In the final exam against his teachers, his quirk might actually be a bit of a disadvantage, right? He can only copy the quirk of his teammate or the teacher, so the teacher would have to only account for one type of quirk or his own quirk. So I guess his Monoma's quirk copy is actually really situational. If he's working in a team, he has to be extremely quick on his feet to know whose quirk to copy to use in any situation. Again, he could have copied a teacher's quirk, but that's assuming he'd be able to lay a hand on a teacher at all. And it seems like he copies the approximate power level of the quirk he copies as well. So, I mean, from what we've seen with the solid air, Kirishima's harden, and Bakugo's explosions, it seems like it's around the same power. So theoretically, he could become much more powerful than he would be normally, or he could just copy a really weak quirk and be generally useless. But yeah, he also doesn't know all the intricacies of the quirk of the original holder, so I don't know. It feels like in a one-on-one battle, if he copies an enemy's quirk, he would be at a disadvantage. But yeah, he'd definitely be useful in situations where you need multiple of the same quirk, though I feel like that's less likely too. Like it's very rare probably that you need two people with the same exact quirk. And yeah, I don't know, say he were to copy All for One, or not All for One, One for All, his body wouldn't be able to hold up to the 100% either, right? So, I don't know, it seems like a very situational quirk, and I suppose in the final exam he didn't properly show off his abilities, especially since he's the only one who failed, which means his partner passed, which probably means he was just about as useless as Hantasero in his final. So yeah. We also learn a little bit about what the League of Villains are after, though. Got some clues early on with Dabi saying, we're not after you pros, so just stay out of the way. So they're after a student. Then the big, huge, muscly guy was asking about Bakugo, so the villains want something with him. Could be All for One wants his quirk, explosives. Though I have to imagine that explosion quirk has existed somewhere before, but maybe not. And could be this thing I've been saying all along, though, that Bakugo's personality does toe the line between hero and villain, and they might want to exploit that. Let's just hope they fail in their mission to kidnap him and anyone else they might be targeting, because I don't know what they have planned for him. The villains start off with quite a blast, though. Dabi seems to completely incinerate Aizawa with blue fire. I want to believe Aizawa somehow didn't get hit by that, but he was taken by surprise. Didn't even have time to cancel Dabi's quirk, so I don't know, could be bad. He's already been hurt so much in this series against that Nomu. So please, I just hope he comes out here, out of this battle relatively unscathed. We had Spinner, who has been inspired by Stain. He does everything to look as much like him as possible, follow his creed, and his weapon of choice is all those blades bound together by some belts. It's really over the top for sure. Mandalay takes him on and actually uses her telepathy quirk to mess with him, like flirt with him a little bit, and he blushes for a bit. It's a really interesting way to use the quirk, though I would have saved it to use at a more critical juncture, like for instance when she's really in trouble or when she's sure she can finish the battle, use it to catch him off guard and finish him, because now he knows her trick, her quirk, and how she could use it, and will be on guard in the future. So it's interesting, yeah. Spinner calls the other villain with him Big Sis Mag, which, does that mean she's a trans character? Because that would make her the first LGBTQ anime character that I've probably ever seen, which, like, at least not canonically. A lot of people ship a lot of people together, like Naruto and Sasuke even, but I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen an actual, like, canon LGBTQ character before. But then again, I've only read and watched shonen, so I haven't seen many of the newer ones, so it's possible that I'm just missing out. Her name seems to indicate that her quirk has something to do with magnetism, so given that she was able to pull Pixie Bob last episode and pull Mandalay this episode, it seems like she can give a magnetic charge to people instead of just like metallic things. And I'm really curious what the range on that is, because she just gives something magnetism from like really far away and pulls them in, which she doesn't have to touch him or anything. Really interesting. But yeah, while she and Tiger fight, they bring up Ragdoll and the camera cuts to a rather bloody scene. Are we to assume she's been heavily injured or taken or killed? I mentioned before how broken her quirk seemed, so maybe All For One wanted her quirk. But Dabi did say the pro heroes weren't their target, so I don't know. Maybe they just took her and there's a chance to get her back. Someone is bleeding a lot, though, so yeah. Speaking of bleeding a lot, Bakugo and Todoroki also run into a villain who seems to be eating a hand? I don't know. Which begs the question, who lost the hand? Because I think we have an answer to that, because Todoroki and Bakugo were the second group to do the test of courage, so it should be someone from the first team, which means it's either Tokoyami or Shoji, and I'm hoping it's not Tokoyami. And I also feel like Dark Shadow is too good at defense to let Tokoyami get injured like that. Shoji does have 6 arms, and I don't know if he gets one cut off, if he can duplo arms it, like create another limb that way, or if he just can't use one of his arms anymore. I hope it's the former. Either way, though, that guy was sent to kill, and he's super freaking creepy. And meanwhile, we have that gas attack too. There's so much going on in this episode. Everybody's spread really thin. Good on Yayorozu for creating masks. Super, super useful. She mentioned before that she has to understand the chemical construct of whatever she creates, but in this case, she also has to know how things are like physically made, right? Like she can't just think we need masks and make them without knowing the inner mechanisms. Which means I think the fastest training for her would be like eating junk food while constantly creating stuff while also studying the chemical and physical constructs of items that could be useful for her to make in the future. But yeah, great job getting masks to people though. Gave Tetsu a bunch. And Tetsu just goes off to fight villains, which is a very, very risky move. I can understand where he's coming from for sure. Monama's over the top, but it's true. 1A has been pulling away due to their real life experience, and he wants to turn this opportunity, to turn this crisis into an opportunity to become stronger. And he can't just stand by while villains go about causing havoc and possibly killing his friends, so the thing is, it's not for revenge like it was for Ida against Stain, but he hasn't been given permission to fight yet either, and he's not a hero yet. So, I don't know. I don't like the rule, and I don't agree with the rule because it can stop people from defending others, but it does make me worry if there will be consequences for him going after villains. What if, because of Tetsu Tetsu's involvement, more people get hurt, kidnapped, killed?
Or worse, expelled.
I don't really blame him that much, though. I don't think I'd be able to stop myself either. Not because of the competitive 1A versus 1B, like BS, essentially, but because everybody's in trouble. All his teammates are in trouble, or his classmates are in trouble. Yeah, it's just a really bad situation. I hope he doesn't regret getting involved. I was almost thinking that Kendo would knock him out to protect him and protect others. I guess it depends on how much faith she has in his ability to. Which he is plenty capable given how capable Kirishima is, and they're like basically the same character. But yeah, back to the fight finally. To Deku and Koda and the muscle man. Deku was completely outmatched when using his 5% full cowling, so this is... I don't want to say it's a wake-up call, because he's been trying his best for a very, very long time, but I don't know if there's a way to further accelerate his training, but using even the 100% smash wasn't enough, and it was like tanked like it was nothing, and the muscle guy was just a horrible, horrible human being, just wanting to cause him as much pain and destruction as possible, toying with Deku, telling Koda he toyed with his parents too, essentially, and then... like, Deku was willing to give up his life to save Koda, and that would have been so tragic. So many more people he could have saved in the future, and I don't know what happens to One For All if he dies at this point. Could All Might pass it down again, or is the majority of the quirk already in Deku, and it would just be lost forever? That would be really, really bad. And Deku had accepted his fate until Koda jumped in with that water hose attack. Man, my heart, guys. This episode is just really, really well done. Deku had told him to run, but I guess he assumed he had saved Koda and was okay with dying there if that was the case, or he just felt like he was completely out of power. But since Koda survived, I don't know. It felt like when he realized Koda was still there, he came alive again. Maybe it was possibly him being inspired a little, like the way he did the way he inspired All Might back in episode 2 of season 1 against that sludge villain. He comes back to life with 1,000,000% Delaware Detroit smash, which first one is a city and one is a state, Delaware and just Detroit, and they're nowhere even near each other. The naming conventions of this show are kind of hilarious. And then the 1,000,000%. That's not a thing. You can't do that. But yeah, every time I see the animation of One For All being passed from user to user, it's just so good, right? But yeah, his arm was already broken before he used that attack, and he already had some level of permanent damage in his arms, right? The scarring, I don't know. And they don't have a healer on board right now. They don't have a healer in the vicinity. So the longer that injury sits, the more damage will set in, right? So I'm worried about Deku's state at the moment. I mean, it was worth it. He survived. He saved Koda. And there was that montage there with Mandalay talking to Koda, telling him he'd understand what his parents did one day. Someone will come to save him and become his hero. And this is the first time Deku's saved someone on his own, I think. He saved Ida and Native, but he needed help from Todoroki and Ida eventually to take down Stain. And they were all heroes in the first place. It wasn't like he was saving a civilian. This is the first time he saved a civilian, and he did so on his own, which is a heck of a introduction for him as a hero. And it was definitely a very emotional moment. Koda's whole outlook, his world view is going to change. I think Deku essentially saves him in another way too, because his parents were his whole world, and now he understands what they did. It just changes his heart completely. And it's honestly very beautiful. The thing is, I saw this kind of thing coming too. I even said Deku's probably going to save him at some point, and he did. It worked out exactly like I thought it would, and yet it was still such an impactful moment. So, really well done. I'm going to give this episode a 9.5, guys. Really, really well done. Really emotional. And thanks for watching. Leave a like. It really, really helps with the channel. And if you want to watch the full reaction, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye, friends.